Dave,
Henry.
what do you think you need to work on in order to improve your seamanship?
Fitness, strength, sailing skills, tacking, jibing, hoisting the main, dropping the main, reefing, cleaning, cooking, spinnaker work, anything in the nav station. That's all quite baffling.
So level 4.5 is the last training week for the preparation for the Clipper 15-16 round the world yacht race, and it consisted primarily of 2 races, one of 48 hours, one of 30 hours, and those ran immediately one after the other. So it's a 4 and a bit days of sailing, and then a day of skills and drills training in local waters following that.
Highlight of the week was really the experience of team building with the crew. Obviously new people that we hadn't met beforehand, the experience of going out in different types of weathers, setting different sails changes, building a team for Jim to actually sort of compete in the event. The weather was changeable. We ended up with some sunny days towards the end, but before that we had a run to France in storms, 5, 6 and 7s with high gusts and big waves. But it was a fantastic time, fantastic experience, fantastic crew. It worked well.
So we were trying to replicate in as many different ways as we could the leg races of the yacht race. And whilst we were doing this, the other 11 boats in the fleet were doing exactly the same. So there was an element of competition. There was an unscheduled and quite unfortunate event. One of our crew had a fall in the galley and was injured, and a decision was made by doctors both on board and through the Coast Guard to evacuate her, and that was done by Rescue 106, which is a Coast Guard rescue helicopter. So we were about 30 miles south-southeast of St Catherine's lighthouse, so well and truly mid-channel. And just before dusk, we came towards the wind, and a rescue helicopter with a winch operative dropped down and provided some additional medical support to the casualty. And there was a big group effort to get her into a stretcher, and we moved her to the aft quarters of the boat, where the linesman hooked her and himself onto the line, and fortunately she was in hospital about 25 minutes later, where she has since begun to make a recovery. Fortunately she was quite seriously injured. It's never a good thing to have a crew member injured, but we were able to run through some important drills and give her the medical support she needed, which is obviously very realistic training for the race. Hopefully we've had our fill of injured crew members for a while. One of the skills and drills we practiced were interboat transfers, and this can be a feature on the race, both of personnel, food, fuel, water, and essential engine spare parts. Not every boat has the capacity to carry spares for everything, so there are spares across the whole of the fleet. So it has historically been necessary to transfer one part from one boat to another, perhaps from key pieces of equipment such as the generator or water maker, and so this is something that we practiced. Towing was an additional exercise, and we were both the towed vessel and the towing vessel. This has happened before in the Clipper race through mechanical breakdown or fuel shortage, so it's something that all crew members need to know how to establish a fore and aft tow, through the use of bridles and the safe transfer of a towing line as well. So this was done with CV30 PSP Logistics Max's boat, and that was quite successful. We did that for about an hour mid-channel, during an unusual high pressure time when there was very flat sea state and very little wind. So rather than just motor, we were able to do some training as we went.
It's tiny, isn't it? It's a real sliver on the sail. What's the other points to note? What have we done to the...
One of the other skills and drills was a talk through and a run through of how to use and prepare storm sails, so what we call the Yankee fore or storm jib, and the storm mainsail, which is called a trysail.
Crashing down, sweeping everything across the deck.
A little time was spent on 2 evenings at anchor following the race finishes, and this was an excellent opportunity to practice anchoring and anchor recovery, and also the use of the kedge anchor. We did, however, one morning have some trouble. The tide had turned and the anchor chain had wrapped once round the keel, and what this meant was we had to have a couple of volunteers in the tender to get the face mask on and look in the water to see which way the anchor warp had wrapped around the keel, so we could spin the boat in the correct way and untangle rather than just make it worse by going the wrong way. So one of our youngsters, the baby of the boat, Phoebe, very keenly volunteered to put the face mask on and stick her head in the water, and Edward was kind enough to grab her ankles and prevent her from completely going under. So that was a good use of the tender being blown up and launched and recovered from the sea, and also the safe deployment of an underwater check while keeping everyone on the surface. Other activities at anchor included some lessons on knots, which just still, unfortunately, keep eluding one or two of the crew members, so we're having to practice that.
Thank you for knots with Ed. I'll be back next week with the bowline.
We looked at whipping, which is a vital part of keeping the running rigging in good order, so all the ropes and bits of string. So there were some lessons for some people there. And finally, we just had a few minutes at the end of one of the evenings for some dancing. A very hard week, lots and lots to learn. Really made very good progress in both the ability to do sailing evolutions, but also on the social side, a really good opportunity for the crew to bond, for relationships to become well established, and good working practices were made better on the boat. And this is going to be our home as well as our place of competition for the next year, and we've really started to make good progress in those areas. This is an adventure, and this is how you prepare for an adventure. You go and do a level 4.5 with clipper training.